21 Pilots are one of the most successful bands of the last decade, winning a Grammy, building lore, and gaining a huge loyal fan base. They have released 8 albums since the end of 2009. The question is, which album is best? Hello everybody, I'm HazeTalksMusic and I'm a fellow clicky, and I'm glad to be finally making a video on 21 Pilots. Today, I will be ranking every album in their discography worst to best. I will be not including any live albums. If I were, I'd wait to include More Than We Ever Imagined, which I'm pretty sure comes out 2 days after this video is released. So, no MTV Unplugged or the Scaled and Icy livestream, just their main 8 albums. Also, I want to highlight I am no music critic. All of these rankings are based on my opinion, and most albums will have a very high ranking as I love this band so much. Some of my opinions may be controversial, so feel free to argue with me in the comments. Anyways, let's get into the video. It comes to no surprise that this is the weakest album in their discography, as it's not meant to be a good album. Its purpose was for the band to have songs to play live when they first started out. It doesn't even have an official release, as it's not on any streaming apps, and it's very hard to get your hands on any physical copies. The songwriting shows Tyler's strengths, as most of the songs here made it onto Vessel. Although, that's all this album really does, as Josh has no partake in this album, as he wasn't really in the band and everything was produced by Tyler digitally. Speaking of which, the production brings this album down significantly, and sometimes I find it a little hard on the ears to listen to. Although, like I mentioned, it's not fair to criticise this, as even the band themselves have stated they don't really view it as part of their discography.
So technically, Regional at Best doesn't exist, because some people might not like this, but I kind of view Vessel as our first record.
The songs that have made it onto Vessel are obviously great, but it's the weakest version of them songs. Also, the songs that made it onto Vessel Deluxe are amazing too, but other than that, the only other song worth shouting about is Slow Down. Overall, it's a pretty weak album, but it isn't supposed to be breaking any records. It more or less just shows the band's history, so this album gets a 4 out of 10 from me.
What?
Yes, I know, I have the band's breakthrough album, Blurryface, as second to worst. Before you dislike the video and leave the most hateful comment known to mankind, hear me out on this. Yes, songs like Stressed Out, Ride and Heavy Dirty Soul are classics, and it makes sense why that appealed to the mainstream audience. But most of the songs on here feels like filler. That's because it is. The song Lane Boy, which is one of my favourites from the album, even states this. There's a few songs on this record that feel common. This is because the band were forced to add more poppy songs onto this album to satisfy their record label. They didn't have full creative control on this album, and it shows. Heavy Dirty Soul, Ride, Tearing My Heart, Lane Boy and Goner are the ones I really love on this album. And aside from Stressed Out, most of the songs fall into the realm of mediocrity. Songs like Polarized, Message Man and Not Today are just super boring in comparison to everything else the band has done. Also, I'm unsure if this is a hot take, but I can't stand Fairly Local, as I think the lyrics are just awful. The good songs are some of the best in the band's career, but the others I don't really care for. In my eyes, this album is more of a stepping stone, getting their name into the mainstream audience so they can prove themselves and have more creative control in the future. Blurryface gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Self-Titled is a hidden gem within their discography. Some of these songs are the best in the band's career, which is a strong sign from a debut. Josh wasn't in the band at the time, instead their drummer was Chris Saley, who laid some decent foundation throughout these songs. Each of these songs are beautifully written, foreshadowing Tyler's talent. March to the Sea is one of my favourite songs from the band as it's so emotionally rich. In fact, this whole album has great themes, including struggles with faith and topics on mental health. From a songwriting perspective, this album is great for an album so early in their career. Although the only thing holding it back is the way Tyler sings. For some reason he has such a strong accent which is almost off-putting. Bear in mind his voice does not sound like this in any other album. It certainly makes the album unique, but it also holds it back. Overall, this is a great album and is rightly beloved by a handful of fans. For me, this album is a 7 out of 10. I love this album so much, and it's a shame it couldn't be any higher, but it just shows how strong their albums are. Scaled and Icy was seen as a huge step down from what came before it, which was Trench. Many people disliked it, saying it was just a boring pop record which took away from the lore that Trench built, but arguably this album has more lore than Trench. It's just not as obvious. The Bishops captured Clancy and he was forced to play upbeat songs to make the citizens of Dima happy, but Clancy was clever and hid the truth within the lyrics. If you don't understand the lore of 21 Pilots, this is probably super confusing, but Clancy is Tyler, and that's all I'll explain for now. I do plan to make a lore explanation some point in the future. So, the story behind this album is actually really clever and the songs are just as good. Good Day is one of my favourite songs by them, with it being the only song I can play on piano. I love Josh's drums and choker. Shy Away is a staple, although the live stream version is so much better with the scream. Mulberry Street and Never Take It are super catchy. Bounce Man and No Chances are super underrated, although I've never really cared for Saturday alongside Formidable. Also, Redecorate is fine, but it's just so much better on the live stream version when mixed with Lane Boy. Overall, this album has such a special place in my heart, and whilst it's not mind-blowing, it's just what it needs to be. Also, this has the best album cover out of all of their albums. This song gets a strong 8 out of 10 from me.
Move it up, it's a breach.
This is the band's most recent release, and it was the first release I was there for, so it certainly has a special place in my heart. Now, the recency bias has worn off, and I can judge it like the rest of the albums. The lead single, The Contract, was a great first impression, although it was Drum Show which caught my attention. Obviously, I love rock music, and this is the heaviest song they've put out, so this very song caused me to listen to the entirety of their discography. And when this album came out, it was amazing. City Walls had a music video which closed the lore in a beautiful way. Songs like Robot Voices, Centre Mass, Tally, and Days Lie Dormant showcase the band's strong dynamic and lean into the rock side of things. Cottonwood and Intentions are some of the most emotional, heartbreaking songs they've ever made. But to be fair, Garbage and One Way are the weakest songs on here, but they still are great tracks. Overall, this album was a great closure to the lore, and the fact that it only came out a year after Clancy is seriously impressive. For me, this album is a strong 8 out of 10.
In Trench, I'm not alone.
Trench is considered to be the band's best piece of work, and that's because this is the album that started the lore. Technically, Blurryface was the introduction for the lore, but this is where it truly kicks off. All the music videos had great visuals, and the songs that came with them were perfect. Jumpsuit has one of the best bass lines from the group, and it ends in a chaotic bundle of energy. Levitate is some of the best rapping we've got from Tyler. My Blood is a top 10 song from them, and speaking of which, Legend is my favourite from the album, telling such a heartfelt story on his granddad and how he passed away. Bandito and Nico and the Niners are songs which are essential to the lore, as well as Leave the City, which is one of, if not the best closers to an album of theirs. Chlorine is the hit from the album, and it's well deserved, as the outro is one of my favourite parts of the whole album. Also, the music video gave us the first appearance of the beloved Ned, which became their mascot. What I also like about this album is it shows how creative they got with this project. Blurryface had restrictions within what they could do, but now they made it big, they had the opportunity to take full control, and it was executed perfectly. Overall, this is one of the best concept albums of all time, and has amazing storytelling within the incredibly crafted music. This is the first 10 out of 10 on this list.
I could pull the steering wheel.
Words can't describe the love I have for this album. This was early 21 Pilots in their peak. This was the first of their albums to be produced in a studio and under a record label. Car Radio was their first big hit, and it's probably their best big song, as it has so much energy which is also carried throughout the rest of the album. Ode to Sleep is such a unique song, as each part feels so separate, but they all come together so perfectly. Holding On To You has some of the best hooks Tyler has ever wrote. Both Migraine and Hulse of Gold are fan favourites for good reason, and I could list every song and say amazing things about them. This is one of their only albums without any lore, which allows them to be more creative in terms of songwriting as they don't contribute to telling a dramatic story. This took all their strengths from self-titled and regional at best and made them even stronger to make such a perfect album. Trees is a staple in their discography, with it being the iconic closer to their shows. Truce is an emotionally raw song from Tyler, which closes the album perfectly. The entirety of Vessel is beloved throughout the fandom, as it doesn't have a single bad song, and it's full of creativity from both Josh and Tyler, which is why this album is a 10 out of 10.
If you can't see, I am Clancy.
Clancy is one of my favourite albums of all time. I want to point out that this isn't recency bias, as I didn't consider myself to be a fan when this came out in 2024. I just truly love this album. Overcompensate is the best opener to any of their albums, as it's a great reintroduction to Trench and the energy is unmatchable. Midwest Indigo creates a huge wave of nostalgia to the ear due to the synths, even though I've only known this song for a year. Vignette has some of the most impressive vocals from Tyler, and it reminds me of a Strokes song for whatever reason. The Craving is the best song that Tyler has written for Jenna, and yes, Jenna's version is much better than the single version. Navigating is a great rock song, and Oldie Station is a touching song on Getting Old. They end the album perfectly on Paladin Strait, which is my favourite closer from them, as the soft ukulele paired with Tyler's vocals is such a treat for the ears. I told myself I wouldn't list too many songs on this album, but all of them are too perfect to not mention. But my favourite 21 Pilots song is on this album, which is Next Semester. The bass is so well written and Josh kills it on the drums here. The song has such a great meaning and it resonates with me perfectly. I plan to talk about this song in more depth in the future, as it's definitely in my top 10 songs of all time. This album also explains the lore perfectly, with each song having their own music video, which shows the amount of love and care they poured into this album. Also, it's pretty obvious that this is my favourite album of theirs, as it's in my profile picture. Overall, this is the best 21 Pilots album in my opinion, as the songwriting is incredible. I definitely plan to make a review and deep dive on this album soon, as it's truly a 10 out of 10 album, which I'm extremely passionate about. Well guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is my first 21 Pilots video on the channel, and I hope I find most of the fandom, as I just love this band and I love all the fans. Everyone is just so nice in the community, and the band is just amazing, and I really want to make more videos in the future of them. So if you are a fan, I'd love you to subscribe, as you know, I do plan on making more videos on them in the future, and also I make videos on other bands if you want to check them out. Just thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.